so much for sitting down with us and then telling us about your club. You were here representing Franklin Food for Thought, and I'd like to just start by asking you to tell us what the club is. Like for somebody who has never heard of it, a freshman who sort of has never seen it, never been to a meeting, how would you explain it to them? How do you pitch it to new members?
Okay, I guess I can start. So basically, Franklin Food for Thought is a club where we just discuss anything and everything. It was really created because of the political strife that we had in our own country, and I felt like it was a good thing to sort of have a discussion with all of our classmates, see their views on different topics, and also get to know about like what they want to talk about as well, because I think that's really important.
So it's like a discussion-based group?
Right, yeah, it's definitely discussion-based.
Can you walk me through one of your meetings? I've never seen one of them before. What are they like?
Okay, Kate, do you want to tell that?
Sure. So we have different types of meetings. Sometimes we have research meetings, sometimes we have discussion meetings, sometimes we just have meetings where we let the club know what's going on. And so usually in our research meetings, so we try to have those maybe every other week, where we come together and we sort of research our differing sides. And so we prepare for our big discussion by either making a PowerPoint slide or a cute little poster or something like that, something that's informative and research-based. And then in our discussion meetings, we have a big discussion about everything. So,
could you tell me some of the topics that you've already discussed thus far this year?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe our first meeting, oh my goodness, that was so far ago. But we basically talked about like team building and relationships. We talked about toxic relationships, how to deal with them, like parental, friends, like relationship wise. So that was a really good discussion. We also talked about pro-choice versus pro-life very recently, like a month ago, and that was also very riveting to hear like different points of view. And I really appreciated how we respected one another despite all of our different opinions, because I don't think that, that's really a common thing a lot of the times. And so it was cool to have like a civil discourse. My sister, actually, she's really into like environmental things, and so we did a discussion on the hidden effects of the palm oil industry and basically how that's been affecting the people who work in that industry. And that was also really informative because we didn't know half the time that palm oil was in our products, like Cheez-Its and shampoos. And so it was just really interesting to see and learn about things that we didn't really have any information on.
Do you feel like the vibe is different from meeting to meeting, or does it kind of feel the same basically each time?
Oh, I can take this one. I feel like for me personally, I feel like it's different each time because I feel like our discussions differ so much. And so I feel like that creates a different sort of vibe. And I feel like as we keep having these discussions, we sort of break the ice and sort of get used to it. And so it's easier for us to have more informative discussions.
This sounds like such a cool club. I love how expansive all of those topics that you just named are. If it were just like sort of purely political, that would make sense. If it were purely personal, that would make sense. But the idea, as you put it, it covers anything that comes up. Anything and everything can be discussed. It's like such a cool way to approach it. I was curious about like the beginning of the club. So this is a new club. It was started, I believe, this year, right? And most new clubs, when they're founded, it usually is to fill some sort of void that existed in the student body. So if there was no space for conservatives to meet together to talk, then a young conservative club gets invented, something like that. Can you describe to me what void you felt was present in the student body before, and how you came to decide to create this club to fill that void?
Yeah, so basically Franklin is a great school. Basically, it's a great school. We're filled with so many diverse students, and I feel like that's one of our biggest accomplishments ever. And because we're filled with such diverse students, sometimes it can be hard to hear every one of them. And I really think that when you kind of break down everyone and like their experiences, I think that was kind of a problem where people were saying, oh, I don't feel like my thoughts are getting heard with like this aspect of life. Like maybe in English class, they felt like their religion was being persecuted or something like that. I've had that, like someone has told me that before. And so we created Franklin Food for Thought as a way to break down those walls and to have those discussions and to sort of say like everything is open. We respect you regardless, and your opinion is 100% valid.
That's awesome. So like when you started the club, I'm sure you had a vision of like how it should go, what it should feel like. Did anything change from that moment into like when you actually started having meetings with new members?
I mean, I feel like Victoria, both of us had very different expectations for our club. Like, not us individually. I just mean like we both thought it would be very different than how it is now. I guess we both sort of imagined this sort of debate like club where it would be a little bit more formal with a little bit more structure, but I feel like our discussions have sort of evolved to be more relaxed and more informative. And I feel like that's good because it sort of encourages more participation. So.
Yeah, I agree too. I think at the very beginning, I was expecting arguing and like people were, not throwing hands literally, but they were screaming and yelling at each other. I don't know why I wanted to see that, but I was like, ooh, wouldn't that be so interesting? But it's totally chill and it's totally relaxed. And I feel like we've all become a big family because, clubs, when you become super close, you start to talk to each other out of club meetings, and then you can start discussions about other things too. And I think that really brought us closer together.
It's so wild that you intentionally wanted to make a club that touches on controversial subjects, but then it actually became like a safer space than you intended. I love also the idea that you wanted it to be structured, but actually it's exactly the opposite. It's completely like casual and like familial. That's so wild. How I'm curious, like how did you create the club? A sort of like on a sort of like basic level, what does it take to create a new club like this?
Honestly, it was really strange to me. It was like out of the blue. I remember it was a Sunday in August. We hadn't gone back to school yet, and I was tired of watching the Saints, and I was like, you know what? I just think I need to create a club that focuses on controversial topics. I know that's so random, but I was like, this is going to work. I'm going to make it happen. So I emailed Dr. Lestraps on Sunday, like in the middle of her precious Sunday time, and was like, hey, I kind of want to set up this club, and I was wondering if you would want to be our sponsor. And me and Dr. Lestraps, like, we're really close since I had her for World Geography last year. So she was like, of course, totally, I would love to sponsor the club. So, all right, we have a check mark. We have a sponsor for that. But then it was like, okay, how am I going to get students involved if we're online? Like, that was the hardest part. Because the funny thing is, like, me and Katie, we weren't talking that much at all, but I had reached out to her. And I was like, hey, Katie, do you want to be my co-president? And then it just, like, lifted off from there. And we, like, decided who would get what position. And I think next year we're going to add it to where, like, we run for positions in the club, but I really liked how it started out, and I think it was a really good beginning.
I remember I talked to Dr. Lestraps over the summer. She's also the sponsor for EADC, and she was like, that I kind of know what they're going to do. This group is really exciting. They're very passionate. I have no idea what they're going to do. It's called Food for Thought, but it's not just a casual sort of informative seminar series. It's like, it's possible it's going to be controversial. This like might get me in trouble. What was it like in the very beginning when you were trying to get people interested? I'm not even sure exactly how you launched it. Did you do it over the announcements? Like, did you do a club fair video?
I was really extra. I literally sent out emails to students who I thought would be the perfect fit for the club. And I was like, hey, you've been nominated to join the club. Like, I made it so official. I hope that's not considered lying, but I was just like, we're going to get this out there. And yeah, that's basically what I did. I emailed a bunch of people, and no one checks their email, so it was really risky. So I'm glad Kate responded though. So shout out to Katie for responding. But yeah, that's basically how I started it.
I guess that's the secret to like a risky move like that. Always email at least one person who checks their email. Kate, did you help out with recruitment at all? Did you spread the word among people that you knew?
Yes. So after I joined Victoria, being co-president, we reached out to a lot of people, but I mean, it was really hard because a lot of people would sort of lose motivation, especially since it's virtual and it's hard to get into things like this while we're virtual. And a lot of other people had other commitments, and so it was really hard to recruit people. But we sort of had to reach out to people through email and sort of tell them how everything would work. I think we actually had a Zoom meeting about how everything would work, and we sort of answered questions and things like that. So yeah, it took some work trying to find the right people.
Yeah, I feel like with any new group, you have to find some core that is like really invested and keeps coming back. Because if you don't even have that, I think it just like dissipates very quickly. And you know, because you're a news club, there's always this possibility that just never comes together. It's like an idea that never actually forms. Can you compare your club to Unity Club and Middle Ground? Those are the two other discussion-based groups that I could think of. And I was curious if there's like a way that you conceive of yourself as being distinct from those two different clubs.
Okay, so we actually were thinking about joining with Middle Ground like when we were first starting, because we were like, we have such similar ideas, so why don't we just join our club into like one big club. Unfortunately, that it didn't work out, but I think our clubs are like really good separate because we can come together in different times when we might need to discuss things together. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Middle Ground. I have talked to the president of that club quite a few times, and so I know that it's basically almost the same thing where they sort of try to find common ground between two different like opposing ideas to try to discuss how their life experiences have shaped that. I would say ours is like that as well, but we also try to pull in not just like anecdotes, which anecdotes are totally factual, you know, they're very valid at the same time, but we also try to pull in like research so that we have something to just back up something just in case, you know, and it gives like a buttress to our arguments. So yeah, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, I remember at one point I was trying to explain your club, to someone, and they said, well, why would there be another discussion group? Aren't there already discussion groups that exist on campus? And I thought to myself, like, first of all, it makes sense to me that there would be an ecosystem of related clubs rather than imagining that clubs necessarily consolidate. It is very common, I think, on college campuses for there to be one group that sort of starts something and then other splinter groups that sort of differentiate themselves from the thing that the main group can't do or sort of doesn't do as often, you know? So if you have like, if you have like a discussion group, let's say, that is like purely political, for example, and people start feeling like, well, we really need to build a space for a different kind of discussion, it makes sense that there would be like another group. I also just think that like it makes sense because the vibe of the different leadership like might just be different. It might just be a different group of people who are like, I want to do it my way. I'd love to hear about if you look back on the past 6 months or so that this club has existed, I'm curious about like the big wins and like the big setbacks. Like, what do you consider the things that have gone really, really well for your club, and what are some major setbacks that surprised you?
Okay, so I personally think one of our biggest wins have been some of our student-led discussions where Victoria and I sort of turn it over to some of the members of our club, and they look at the topic and they prepare a presentation and they sort of go through it, talk to the rest of the club about it. And I feel like those have been really successful because, you know, it encourages leadership and encourages other people to step up and, you know, sort of take charge.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say the same thing because there was a point where Katie and I could not go to the meeting. And so, but everyone else showed up. So it was like, okay, how are we going to do this? So we basically told two members, here's what we do. We need you guys to do that too. We need you guys to take on our roles. And I watched back the Zoom meeting and I was like, oh my goodness, they did such a good job. And it kind of makes us like proud, I feel like, to show like, wow, like we built this club and like our club is amazing. And not to sound like, you know, arrogant, but you know, we have really amazing people who are part of it. And I just really think that was a big win. Also, we have this major meeting that's called Food with Friends, and it happens like every new year. This year was on January 12th, I believe, and it's basically where we literally bring food, hence the food for thought, and we literally bring food from our cultures, and we sit down and we discuss like, oh, this is from my culture, this shows my heritage, etc. Hopefully when we get out of like online school, this will like work out better. But I do feel like it was of a success this year too, so, or last year rather. Oh wait, no, it was January this year. So that's a big win. I don't want to talk too much, but like I would say one of the biggest losses would probably be just like communication loss between people. We did not do a very good job, and I take full responsibility of that. During like the ends of December last year, it's just so hard to keep in touch with people, especially during quarantine. No one has interest in a club if they have like 7 different other things they have to worry about, you know, like we go to Franklin, we have so much homework, no one is worried about our club. And so it was really difficult sometimes to communicate with people and be like, hey, I need you to post this for our club, or hey, I need you to make this poster for our club. So I think that was one of our biggest losses, but at least we've learned from it.
I definitely hope that when we go in person that there's a lot more food and food for thought. I think that sounds so good. It's like debate and discussion and also croissants. So you're both, you're sophomores, right? Like this is just your second year. It's amazing. It's incredible that you've gotten such an ambitious club off of the ground. I was curious if there's anything that you feel like, what do you think that you've learned this year in terms of like your own personal growth as student leaders?
Okay. I feel like I've definitely learned how to like balance different things because like Victoria said, we all go to Franklin. We're all, you know, we all are in a sport, we're in a club, we have homework. It can be a lot to balance sometimes. And so I feel like being a part of this club and being a co-president has really shown me how to manage a role like this. And it's sort of taught me how I need to make more time dedicated to this club. And it's sort of shown me better time management.
Same, I would agree with Katie. Like, I'm not saying organization wasn't a big part of my life, but again, with quarantine, I had lost all the motivation to organize. I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. If everything is everywhere, that's how it's supposed to be. But no, like running a club, you definitely need organization. So I would say it's taught me organization. It's taught me the importance of communicating. And it's definitely taught me the importance of listening to other people. I feel like a lot of people hear other people, but we have to ask ourselves, like, do we listen to other people? And so it's definitely taught me to learn about different opinions other than mine, not to be so convicted in them all the time, and to really, like, you know, be prideful of the school, because I feel like this is it's reflective of our school. So I think that shows really something great about our students as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that y'all have done like an incredible job, especially for just a first year and in the pandemic, in a time where like nobody understood how this is going to work. Like, but to have gotten it off the ground is really great. And I think that the other thing is that I've noticed at Franklin is that the more mature clubs, I think that they have the benefit of having done it so many times that they know the equilibrium of how much time they can expect out of people. I've noticed that like some clubs that have been less successful than yours when they launch, they just assume that they have to be constantly asking people to do things in order to be successful. And the sort of more mature clubs know like, all right, well, everyone's busy, and we can't be everyone's top priority all the time. We will be really heavy in the spring, we'll pull back in the fall, or whatever it is. You know, they sort of find that stride. And I bet that next year you'll probably figure that out too, the sort of pacing of like, this seems like the time of the year that we need them the most. I bet there would also probably be some like large event that you eventually come to. That seems like a pretty standard thing, either a fundraiser or like a major event or something where you team up with somebody. I'm so excited to see like what that's going to shape up to be. I was curious, back to what I was saying about the sort of how young you are as student leaders. I was trying to imagine this show as something that, you know, clubs are really interesting because so many students at Franklin are involved in clubs, but not everybody. Like, it's sort of not for everyone. But the students that it is for, it's interesting how everyone is sort of learning the same kinds of things: organizational skills, leadership, communication. And I was curious, like, imagine that there's like a freshman who is that type of person. They're like, this is very much the life for me, but I'm totally like new to this. I'm not really sure how I'm getting started. Could you speak to like, what would you say to someone if you met someone like a very, very eager freshman who wants to get involved in like the club life, but isn't really sure what to think about, what to feel? What's your take on that?
I guess because I was definitely that person, but I was always nervous or too scared to take on a leadership role. I have a terrible fear of public speaking. And so I was always too nervous to try anything like that. So I guess my advice would be to like, not let that hold you back, because I mean, now I'm here with an awesome co-president, you know, starting an awesome club. And so it's like, you know, I didn't let that hold me back, and I'm here doing something that I ended up loving. So if it's something you really want to go for, then it's not something, then don't let your fears hold you back from accomplishing that.
That was really well said. Okay, now I have to try not to copy that word for word. Okay. No, I totally agree with Katie. Honestly, the fear of it failing is probably what could be like the biggest setback. But once you get over that hump of like saying, okay, I know I'm strongly, that doesn't even make sense. I know I'm strongly opinionated about this. How can I move forward about it? I also would say be careful with being over ambitious, because sometimes if you're too ambitious, not everyone's feeling the same way. Like, I know personally at the beginning, I was like, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to have a meeting every single Tuesday at 3:30. But not everyone can make those meetings, and I had to not take it personally and like not be like, why weren't you at the meeting today? Like, stuff like that. Don't be over ambitious, but also know like your goals and your values, and again, not to let those fears kind of hold you back from what Katie said, from what you're accomplishing.
All right, so I take it that of course you're both gonna stay on as like the leadership of this club, I'm assuming. Is that correct for next year? Awesome. Can you tell me like so obviously none of us know what is gonna happen when we finally go in person. It's all like a huge question mark, but just best case scenario, how do you imagine this club evolving once we go in person in the next year?
I feel like it'll only get better from here, because I know it can be so tiring going to a club meeting right after school on Zoom. Zoom fatigue is a real thing, and it can be so exhausting. But I feel like when we have these things in person, they'll be much more engaging and so much more fun to take part in. So I feel like it'll only get better.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I just look forward to a time when we can like see each other's faces. Like, it's just more tangible, you know? Like, I don't know. I just look forward to that. I think the club will really pick up. It picked up this year as well, but there's just something about connection when someone's there with you. And I know like I did hybrid in the fall, so we had to like do a poster for Freeland Food for Thought in the hallway, and just doing that and seeing like the possibility of people passing in front of it was just like so exciting, because we've been stuck at home for so long. So it was like really, really exciting to sort of see that blossom. And I really look forward to doing the same thing next year and improving communication and improving organization.
That's perfect. That sounds amazing. Let's wrap this up. Is there any last words that you want to say about food for thought or about running clubs in general here at Franklin?
Okay, Katie didn't unmute herself, so I guess I'm talking. I guess I would have to say that Franklin Food for Thought is still a young club. It's like a young child. We all protect it with our lives. And I don't know, I just really love the club so much. And I'm losing my voice. I really want other people to love the club with me because I think it could bring so much joy and so much conversation to Franklin. Like, our motto is creating connections one conversation at a time. And so I really think that speaks true to us as Franklin students. And, if anyone's interested just for like one meeting, it would be enough to like do anything. So I encourage everyone to join it.
All right. That sounds excellent. Thank you for sitting down with me. I hope that maybe like a year from now we can check in again. We should do another one of these episodes and see like what you've learned in your junior year making the physical version of Franklin Food for Thought. I'll just close by saying thank you so much for starting this club and for bringing like more to the school. I really think that every time a student does this and expresses themselves in this way that's like inclusive of other people, the school gets so much better. So thank you both. And thank you for sharing all your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having us.